Begin this hour with shocking new details about the arrest of two non-citizens who tried ramming their way into Marine Base Quantico earlier this month. We now know both men were posing as delivery drivers, were from Jordan. One of them, a student who had an expired student visa. It had expired in January of 2023, while the other entered the U.S. illegally back in April, before being released the next day with a notice to appear before an immigration judge. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement says neither man was listed on the terror watch list, despite reports from other outlets. So I'd like to bring in Chuck Marino, former DHS advisor and former Secret Service supervisory special agent. Chuck, thank you so much for giving us some of your time. There's still so many things unknown about this, but really, what stands out to you most about the events surrounding this arrest? Kind of talk about what went right.
Well, I think it's tragic that post 9/11, 2001, that as a country we're having to talk about this, and that questions like these remain out there, despite all the changes that we made, the departments that we created, like the Department of Homeland Security, the new agencies we created, like TSA and others, and all the billions and billions of dollars that we've spent. But the fact is this incident should not be a surprise to the American people. We literally have an administration, a government at war with itself through policies that are ineffective, inept, and undercut our entire homeland security apparatus. So nothing went right with this, Nichole. This is my long way of saying none of this should have happened. We are allowing people into the country in which it's impossible to thoroughly vet them, and we're letting them in, be it criminal aliens or those on the terrorist watch list, or those coming from special interest locations where we know that terrorist organizations with a deep hatred of the West remain up and running and operational.
So, Chuck, we saw, as you were speaking there, a graphic saying, kind of describing these two men. We know that they were posing as delivery drivers. We don't know what they were attempting to you. From your perspective, what are the most important questions that need to be answered surrounding these two individuals?
Well, there's just too many unknown unknowns that have been allowed to enter into the equation here based on these policies. So we don't know, for example, what was the purpose of these two that are in the country illegally from Jordan to go to a military base, a highly secure military base? Was it to probe? Was it to see if they could get in for a future attack? We just don't know. And the problem is we've got big buckets like gotaways that are well over 2 million, where we just have absolutely no idea what their purpose is for coming into the country. So we have to go with the assumption that the country has been infiltrated. We have example after example of that. We know that those actually on the terrorist watch list, even though they say these two individuals weren't, we know that those that are on that list have made their way into the country, right, and have remained for quite some time. So this is entirely problematic. I think that the country has become a much more dangerous place, and I think security officials around the country are aware of this and are stepping up their operations the best that they can. But this is helping nobody. Right. This is really undercutting the efforts of the men and women that are out there on the front lines each and every day, and it needs to change.
Yeah, and it really is a real risk. It's easy for us to think that nothing will happen when nothing does, but the problem is when something does happen. How difficult do you think it will be to find out what their intentions were, why they were trying to get onto Quantico?
Well, now that they're in the hands of ICE officials and will be prioritized for deportation, prior to that happening, I think you'll see agencies like the FBI get a chance to find out and dig deeper to see exactly what their motive was and what the ultimate purpose may have been. Not that we'll get answers, but there certainly will be an attempt. And the other thing is, how many more are there? Right. Was this part of a coordinated probing effort, or was this actually intended to be some form of an attack? Let's remember that this was a large box truck, which could have been used as a weapon itself. And we know that terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS promote the use of vehicles in attacks against Americans.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.